Publish them at the Friday. You girls have fun on there. Where'd you go to? All right. So today we are going to continue on with proofs and tomorrow. And then if you look up here, you have a practice quiz Wednesday, quiz on Thursday. And then did you guys know you don't have school Friday or Monday? Friday is like a teacher workshop day and Monday is time for conferences. So we don't have to do our conferences that day. We can, email with parents and that type of thing at any time. So it's not that teachers will be here on Monday doing conferences. Some might, but they don't have to be. All right, so we are going to just kind of refresh our memories. Remember, if you ever know that side of one triangle is congruent, I'm sorry. That on because I'm expecting a call from a doctor. So, but if you know side of one triangle is congruent to side of another triangle, that is enough to say that those two triangles are congruent by side. And then we also learned last week that if you had an angle that was congruent in between two sides, that would be side angle side. And as long as you had side angle side of one triangle congruent to side angle side of a second triangle, that would be enough to show that you have those two congruent. The key here is that angle has to be in between those two sides. So that's really important. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so one of the things that's going to be different in this section, last week when we did our proofs, what we were trying to prove is that two triangles were congruent. And today, sometimes they're going to have you take that a step further. And instead of saying that the triangles are congruent, you're going to still do that, but you're going to take it one step further and say another pair of angles are congruent or another pair of sides are congruent. So this, when there's have two angles are congruent, that means it takes an extra step. This one also would take an extra step because it's not triangles being congruent. And then let me just show you one that, if I do have one that, maybe today they're all like that. So if you're doing one that is not stopping at the triangles being congruent, what you have to do is that extra step. And kind of here's what you would do. Let's say these were your two triangles, and say this was ABC and this was DEF. And let's say that we knew this, this, and this were congruent to this, this, and this. Okay. So we would have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. And when you notice that these two are congruent, but then all of the other parts of these triangles that are corresponding are also congruent. So maybe what they'd ask you to prove is that AC then would be congruent to DF. And it's because if these two are congruent, any of the other corresponding parts would be congruent that aren't marked. Like angle A and D would be congruent, angle C and F would be congruent. And what that reason is this right here. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Now, so that you don't have to write that whole thing out, what we write is CPCTC. And a lot of times kids get confused at what order those letters go in. So because of that, we always give an extra credit opportunity here. There's paper up here on the corner of my desk if you want to do this, but what you can do is take a sheet of computer paper and you can come up with a school appropriate saying that starts with these letters. What I use, and I don't know why, but this is the one I've always used. It's chubby pigs can't talk Chinese. So they don't even have to really make sense. It has to be something that's school appropriate that you come up with. And then you have to have like a drawing, or like if you have colored ink and or a colored printer, and you can have a computer graphic, or if you print something black and white in a graphic and you could color it, that would be fine too. So these are some of my better drawing ones that I've gotten over the years. Don't think yours has to be drawn as good as this, but here are some that Cheerful Panther clones the chicken. Cute pups can't taste chocolate. Chirping parrots can talk cheerfully. Chickens peck constantly throughout Cuba. Chubby puppies chew treats calmly. Cute penguins chase tiny chicks. So like, here's one that they just did, but you'd have to have a color printer. I don't know if people do, but cats push couches to cabins, but don't feel like yours has to be drawn perfectly. Here's another one with graphics. Circus peanuts contain cheetahs. So if you're interested in that, it would be due on, oh, I told last hour it'd be due Friday. We're not here on Friday. Let's do it Thursday this week. So if you want to do that, it just has to have color. It has to have a school appropriate saying, and it has to have a drawing or a graphic. Okay, so that'd be 10 extra credit points. I always say school appropriate, and one year I got one that talked about creepy pedophiles can't touch children. Don't give me something about pedophiles, please. So at least they didn't say can touch children, so I guess that there was that, but all right. So let's go to this one here. We have two givens, and then this is going to be one of those special ones because notice what we want to prove is not two triangles are congruent. So that says we have to do an extra step. So let's get started. Let's write our given. And then if you guys You always want to make sure everything that's written here is on your diagram. Everything you put on your diagram is written here. Do you guys see anything else here that, bless you, that we could mark that's congruent? The middle line, very good. So I could say either LN is congruent to LN or NL, however you want to say that. So I'm going to say NL is congruent to NL. And what is that by? Reflexive property. Very good. So now I have that marked. Okay. Now, last week we talked about two different ways to say that triangles are congruent. One was side, 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 and one was side, angle, side. Which one is this? Side, side, side. All three sides of one are congruent to all three sides of another. Now, this is where this is a little bit harder. Last week, they would tell us the triangles were congruent, and we would copy that down for step 3. But now what we have to write that our own congruent statement. So we'd have to say triangle, and whatever order we put that first triangle in. Marissa, did you get them? No. Let me get one. Whatever order you do that first one in is the order you want to do the second one in. So what I do, if I have the 3 sides marked, I would call this triangle L. I go along the side with 1 dash and then 2 dashes. So I would call this triangle LMN. Triangle LMN is congruent to triangle. And then I'm going to go along the one with 1 dash and then 2. So I'm going to say triangle LPN. LPN. And that is my 2 triangles are congruent. And like we just talked about, that is side, side, side. Now, last week we would have been done, but here we have that extra step. So we're going to say angle LNM is congruent to angle LNP. And that is where corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, which you can come up with your own school appropriate saying, mine is chubby pigs can't talk Chinese. All right, so now let's look at this one and let's write down our given. RQ is parallel to TS and segment RQ is congruent to segment TS. And that is given. Now, everything that's given needs to be on the diagram. And what is this symbol right here? 2 vertical lines means what? Parallel. So notice they have the arrows to show that. And then they're telling us RQ is congruent to TS. Now, last week we talked about if they ever tell us 2 lines are parallel, what kind of angle should we think of?
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior. Now, tell me if you guys get this. If these 2 are parallel and this is your transversal, do you get that this and this would be the alternate interior angles? Do you guys get that? If these 2 are parallel and this is your transversal, it would be those 2 that are congruent. If they had told us instead that these 2 were parallel and this was your transversal, then it would be this one and that one that would be congruent. So it's the ones that are like touching the parallel sides. You guys see that? Okay. So just to make sure that you guys get that. All right, so now we're going to write down this angle being congruent to that, and we have to use 3 letters. So I'm going to say angle QRT is congruent to angle STR or RTS. Right? Now, you guys all have a cheat sheet, except for possibly Bryn and Autumn. Did everybody else get a cheat sheet? Did you get one? Anyone else not get it? Because I would take those out. Now, while you're doing the proofs, I would have it open like this. You have it looking. I would have your sheet looking like this. And we just marked alternate interior angles. So then you just have to check these and this one up here to find the alternate interior angles. And it'll tell you in bold what your step would be. So this one is on the third page at the top. And how I abbreviate this is alt, int, angles, and then THM. So it's the third page at the top. Now you guys see something else that's congruent. Yes. Middle line. The middle line. Very good. That's a super common step. So we're going to say RT is congruent to RT. And what is that called when it's the middle line? And again, you can look at your cheat sheet. Reflexive property. So this is going to be REF and then prop. Okay. Now, again, last week we talked about, we know side, 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 and we know side, angle, side. Can you guys tell which one this is? Side, angle, side. But again, we have to do that extra step again because we want to show two angles are congruent. So we have to write that congruent statement ourselves. So when I do that, I go along the segment that has one dash and then the one that has two. So I would call this triangle QRT. Triangle QRT is congruent to triangle. And then again, I'd go along the one with one dash and then two dashes. So triangle STR. And then like Nathan said, this one was side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. Okay. And then last week we would have been done, but today we have that extra step. So we're going to bring that down. And it is that angle Q is congruent to angle S. And whenever you have that extra step, that is the chubby pigs can't talk Chinese or whatever your school appropriate saying is. Everybody okay with that? Okay. So last week we learned side, 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 and side, angle, side. There are two additional ones that we're going to learn in this section. We're going to learn maybe just one of them today and then the other one tomorrow. I'm not positive, but we have two more before the quiz. Okay. But just to review, side, side, side is just when the three sides of one triangle are congruent to the three sides of another. Side, angle, side is when you have one angle and it's right in between the two sides. Okay. So now today we're going to learn another one that's called angle, side, angle. Okay. It would be an angle, a side, angle right in a row like that. The side has to be right in between the two angles. So angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. They'll all lie along one line. Okay. So that is going to be an additional one that we are going to learn. And so now this is just asking us, do we have enough to do angle, side, angle? And that's all this is asking us. Is this angle, side, angle? Yes. Okay. For this, you can just say yes or no. Okay. Don't worry about explaining your reasoning. So now let's look at this one. Does this look like it's angle, side, angle? Isn't this supposed to be right here? Everybody get that? So it's not, so this one's no. Okay. How about here? Is this angle, side, angle? Yeah, it's okay that it's a right angle. That's not a problem. Now, this is kind of a trick question. You see on this one, this is angle, side, angle, but is this side in the right spot? No, so you always have to look at both of them. So this one is no. And then if I look down here at E, is there something else I could mark? The middle line. And now is this angle, side, angle? It is, right? So I guess I do teach you both of them today. So the last way that we have to learn is called angle, angle, side. So angle, side, angle looked like this. Angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side would be two angles in a row and then a side. This side is not in between the two angles. Okay, so angle, angle, side is this one. Angle, side, angle is that one. Okay. Another thing I should tell you about angle, angle, side is sometimes kids get confused with this because if I read this way, I would say angle, angle, side. Okay. If I read it the other way, it would be side, side, angle, angle, which really is the same thing. The only thing is, just so everybody's kind of on the same page, follow this rule. If you ever have the choice to start with an angle or start with a side, start with the angle. Think A comes before S in the alphabet. So here I could call this angle, angle, side, or side, angle, angle. Another thing that kids will get confused about when you get to this one, if I draw that again, angle, angle, side, is kids will read it this way, and they'll say, this is angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle is only if the side is right in between the two angles, okay? You want to go always the shortest way possible when you're doing it, and that way you'd be going along two sides, whereas here we'd go a side and a half. So angle, angle, side is what it would be, okay? So let's go here. Now this gets a little more confusing because we have four of them now. We have side, side, side. We have side, angle, side. We have angle, side, angle. And we have angle, angle, side, or not possible. Okay, so it's getting a little bit more. So the first thing we're going to do is look at what else can we mark here? Vertical angles. Very good. Okay. Do you guys get we have two angles in one side? Two angles in one side. So do you get it has to be one of these two? Is that side right in between the two angles? No. So do you get its angle, angle, side? Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Does everybody get that? When the side is not right in between the two angles, it's angle, angle, side. Okay, for B, is there something else we can mark? The middle. And this is where a lot of kids just start marking stuff. There are times that's all you can mark. So don't think like, oh, I have to get one of those to work. In this case, this is all we know. We know two sides of one are congruent to two sides of another. So that's not enough. So we would just say not possible. Okay. If I look at C, what do these arrows mean? Parallel. And would you get if these two are parallel? Isn't angle 1 and angle 3 congruent? And then notice UW and ZX have one arrow. So that would make this parallel to that. Okay. And then don't both of these share this side? So what is that? Reflexive, right? Do you guys get that? So is this one of the four? This is a angle, side, angle. Do you get that? Angle, side, angle. Is there something else I can mark here? What? The vertical angles, okay? Now, if I went to do this one, it's angle, angle, angle. Is that one of them that we've learned? No. Angle, angle, angle doesn't work. Side, side, side does, but angle, angle, angle does not. So we're just going to put not possible. Now, if I look at E, is there something else congruent? The middle. And then is that one that we know? Angle, side, angle. Very good. Okay. And then if I look here, our last page, is there something else that I can mark on this? Middle line. And which one is that? Angle, side, angle. Very good. Think about this one. It has two angles and one side. So I'll give you a hint. It either has to be this or this, because those have two angles and a side, two angles and a side. Which one is it? Angle, angle, side. Do you get that? For it to be angle, side, angle, you guys, this side would have to be right in between. Okay, and it's not. So then it's angle, angle, side. Okay. All right, now let's look down here. What about this one? Is this one of them? Isn't it angle, side, angle? Get it? Okay, so I will get you guys your worksheet for today. And then if you finish early, what I would do if I were you guys is I'd do that extra credit as soon as you can. Okay. Try to find this piece for you guys.